Can we get
hello.
permits?
Hello.
Are you
1, 2,
able
1,
to
2.
get permits for this? Having a house here? Because that would make arriving here a lot easier if we had to also look for parking.
Okay, we're not starting out this way.
I'm sorry.
We've already started.
Hi.
We're gonna let's.
It has begun.
Okay.
The family's fighting.
The family.
Family's
Well,
fighting
welcome
everyone.
to the family.
So
okay,
happy to
now
see you.
we're so happy.
nice to see you too.
We're so happy that everyone made it here, and welcome back to LA. It's gonna take you 3 hours to get 10 miles.
I could have gone to San Diego faster than that.
I could have flown to Colorado.
It's true.
That's true.
Legit.
Yeah, you really
Could have. And actually gotten off the tram and got my baggage.
Without pre-check.
I am 30 miles away. It took me 4 hours. I probably could have taken roller skates and gotten here faster.
And think how many calories you would have burned.
And I would have looked better.
My God,
Yeah.
you'd be
Oh my
training for
God.
a marathon right now.
It's welcome to LA.
Hi, everybody.
We're cheerful.
This is Catching Up with the Camdens. It's been a morning. Welcome. Be happy you're not here right now.
But we're happy you are here with us.
I am David Gallagher.
I'm really happy to finally be here. And I'm Mackenzie Rossman.
And I am Beverly Mitchell, and we have a very special guest.
That's me.
Yeah.
Christine, hi. I'm Christine Lakin. Hello.
Yes.
I'm the guest.
We're so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Because not only were you on an incredible show for a very, very long time, but you also were on our show.
I was.
Yes,
I was on Seventh Heaven. It was one of my first jobs after Step by Step ended.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I knew that.
I think I may have done like a
Were you a
small
pregnant girl?
independent film, but this I think was my first guest star after, yeah. And I remember the audition very well.
Do
in
ya?
fact, yes. Because I thought I blew it. At that time, I don't know, you would audition, and then
Yep.
sometimes you'd get a call back, and sometimes you would just go straight to producers. So that was a thing. I think this may have been I don't remember, it may have been a straight to producers callback. And I remember going into that spelling building,
Yep.
that was on Wilshire.
Yep.
And there was a big conference table. I don't know who was in there. They were putting me on tape or something. And afterwards, I was like, well, I don't think that went very well. You just have a vibe, right?
No,
Yeah,
isn't it
no, you
funny?
do.
Because I think we've all had those auditions where you walk out of there and you're like, oh, well.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of
And
mind.
that's usually,
Moving on.
that's
And then you
usually
get
the
it.
ones you book.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
The ones-
weird how that happens
Yeah.
more often than you think it would.
And then like a couple hours later, my agent's like, you booked it. I was so excited. First of all, because it was such a big show. And second of all, like it was a drama.
Yeah.
So it was like an hour long on the CW. Like it was just like, there was like
Were
a
we
lot of
CW?
like,
We were CW by
we
then?
were CW.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So it was like a lot of like stuff. And I got to play this like pregnant teen at risk. Like it was
I was
all the
just gonna ask,
things.
you're a
Yeah.
pregnant teen.
I
You're-
was,
You're
yeah.
on
At
the
risk.
long and
Nice.
storied list of
Yeah.
pregnant teens at
Yeah.
risk.
And you worked primarily with Catherine, right?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
is a very
she's
fertile
awesome.
planet.
She's great. She's so easy and lovely to work with.
And so funny.
Allison Lohman was the other pregnant teen at risk.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah.
there were two of you.
Yes, so we had to wear pregnant bellies, and it was just like the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
really fun.
I
Yeah.
think they just had like pregnant bellies, like on, like ready
No,
to
yeah,
go.
we had
yeah.
we had
Everyone's
every
size, yeah.
version of a pregnant belly.
Right.
I think
all
like
the
all the different phases.
month phases.
Yeah, yeah. Except for
never got to wear
I
one.
actually had like one where
And
like
you wore them all. Yeah.
I wore many pregnant bellies. Yeah, that was
But I feel like it was
awkward.
also something else was like there was a big thing happening that week. You were also celebrating like 100 episodes or something.
Oh.
There was like a big
So it was halfway
moment.
through the show.
yeah. There
That's
was like
fun.
a
So
and I-
was there a big party?
yes,
Was that
and
like
they
a
let
soft
me go.
flex?
Of
You
course
just
we
did?
let you go.
It was like for lunch or something.
Oh,
There
yeah,
was like
we
a
usually
nice
do.
We
big
ate beef Wellington. That was
Oh,
always
you know
our
what?
special meal.
probably.
Yeah.
And then you and I were chatting on
Yeah.
the way back from the lunch, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just like meeting all the people because I wasn't in any scenes with you."
I know.
You were so nice to me.
Oh
You were
well, good. I'm so
chatty
glad.
and
I mean,
sweet.
and then who knew that like our paths would continue
know.
to like be together. And also, fun fact, also, you two, Christine and David, shared a studio teacher.
Yes,
Correct.
We did.
Susie's-
Did you have Susie for the entire time?
Not at the very beginning. When we first started the show, I think the first season or two, studio teachers were kind of in flux.
Okay.
And but once we had settled into our teachers, Susie was with me for the 90% of the ride.
Yeah.
So yeah, once I started working with Susie, I was like, we're good.
I mean, talk about a run of
Yeah.
having steady employment.
Well, yeah, true.
She had some steady employment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For many years. Yes.
Susie, I mean, Susie's been around. I think we're gonna have Susie
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So, but
Get ready. She's going to
Susie's
be wearing
been-
leopard and purple.
And
Yes, of course.
turtles. Yeah.
Susie is a lovely,
She's the
eccentric, unique person that everyone will adore. I'm sure of it as much as we do.
Oh.
But you had Susie on Step by Step the whole time,
The whole time. She
And
was
then-
always my teacher. Yeah.
and then so after probably what year did Step by Step end? Do you remember?
Yes, 1998.
98. Okay.
Okay,
so
we
How
started
many
in
seasons did you
96.
guys do?
7.
Oh,
So you started in
alright.
96.
We started
okay.
in
we started
96.
96. So it was she probably came off of Step by Step
Yep.
straight over
Straight
to
over.
us.
That's
Yeah.
probably why you didn't have her for those first
Yeah,
two seasons.
I mean, but and there you go. Yeah.
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 Well, yes, because she was still tutoring. Actually, let me think about
She'll
it.
tell
Yes,
us.
there was a little. Yeah, we had there was a little girl that came on the show. She was the daughter of Suzanne and Patrick, so there was a new child that entered the scene. But by the last year of the show, I was in college, so she wasn't tutoring me in college, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we had many a time, Susie and I. We went to Italy together.
Really?
Uh huh.
Oh, wait, what was
we
that
got
Susie,
stories.
for?
Susie
that,
was in
just a
Italy
trip?
like last year.
Yeah,
by
she
the way,
goes all
she
the
goes
time.
all the time.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, like
But I was a senior in high school, and that was like my parents gave me a graduation gift, which was a plane ticket to Italy. But they didn't want me to go by myself, which this is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they also bought a plane ticket for Susie, and
That's
we
perfect.
had
That's so cool.
so much fun. We had the best time.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. We'll have
Yeah.
to ask her about
There's
that.
Well,
something
Susie-
to the ball.
We're in Italy.
Okay.
Something
Susie
to
is
the ball
not
to go.
stuffy. Susie's a good time.
No, she's a good
She
time.
is.
No.
She is a great person to go
Yeah.
on a trip with.
Yeah.
for sure.
We went to Rome, Florence, and Venice.
fun.
Oh, the best.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The best
Best.
places.
Food. Oh.
The food,
God.
the food,
Oh,
the
they-
walking, all the different, we went to all the sites. We saw all the things. We ate all the gelatos. We may have had some wine. That's right. I was 18. Okay. It's okay.
It's legal. It's legal there. You're totally allowed.
Yes. We went to a discotheque one night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, of course. that sounds perfect.
That's so cute.
And I got the pleasure of working with Christine also on Hollywood Darlings, where we had some fun.
best
That was
time.
that was a fun show. We had no idea what we were getting into, which was basically playing exaggerated versions of ourselves and just making fun of ourselves on the daily.
Yeah. And not memorizing any lines, just
No,
going
we were
off
just
the cuff.
Yeah, we're
which
going
was
off the
a
cuff, which
blast.
was really awkward and very uncomfortable for me because I was like, wait.
I'm the same
I
way.
need to know what to say. And like Christine and Jody were like, we got this. You
Yeah.
guys were so like great. And it was, I have to say, I was very intimidated.
You guys
Did
are
you
like an
guys
improv.
Did you do
troupe.
improv?
Yeah,
It
I did
was.
a lot of improv. Like growing up, I was always like in acting classes and doing
Mm-hmm.
and I also
Like
think
UCB
it's
or-
very different doing a sitcom
Yeah.
versus
Right.
what you grew up doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a sense of improv in it because you have lines you're saying, but you are reacting in real time to an
Yeah,
audience.
the timing is
Right.
completely different. The styles are different. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the comedy is different because like your jokes run different on a sitcom than they do. Our jokes are a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit like understated and
Yeah.
it's more like reactionary than it is the actual words that are being
Yeah.
said.
Lucy reacts.
Yeah, a lot of
Lots of
Lucy falls
reacting.
down. We discussed the other day.
Wait.
My
So yeah, this
Yeah,
is
go
kind of off topic.
No,
but you
that's
know how we
fine.
had a
I
lot of
expect
like
that.
pregnant characters on the show, like not pregnant actors playing pregnant characters. Do we ever have any pregnant actors playing not pregnant characters? 'Cause I don't know if anybody that I could think of was ever actually pregnant during the 11 years that we were shooting.
well, they probably didn't tell us because if they weren't supposed to be pregnant on the show, then they probably wouldn't get hired.
Well, that's true.
Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
I imagine if you're
Well-
really pregnant, if you're auditioning, which I imagine would be a nightmare.
You know,
You would only audition for really pregnant characters.
Well,
I was
really
really
pregnant.
pregnant. I was really pregnant when I shot a short film. I didn't know I was really pregnant, but I was.
well, how really
point.
pregnant would you be that
Well,
you
I wasn't
didn't
like
know
really,
if you
really
were
pregnant, but
really
I was.
pregnant?
Let me change it to
Let's-
actually pregnant.
Okay. All right. Well, you said really pregnant, so I'm just
you're
trying
right,
to
you're right,
understand
you're right,
like
like,
what,
anyways,
like at
I'm
what
just
level
wondering,
of pregnant
side
are we
note.
talking about?
I've definitely had to suck it in
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was pregnant before.
Yeah.
I felt well. That's just lunch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
those.
No, like I had auditioned for something.
Yeah.
It went further,
And you
got a
sucked
call
it.
back, and went further. Then they're like, okay, we're gonna go to network, but it's not for like another week and a week and a half or something. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to. By the time the network came around, I had popped, and I was like, this is not good.
Oh my god, really?
I was
So what
wearing
was that for?
blazers. It was
Yeah.
for some, I think it was a Comedy Central pilot. I didn't get it.
I-
But weirdly enough, there's another actress who I always, when you go up against someone, but it's weirdly enough,
There's
like
like
it's
a
always
crowd.
It's the
you
same- yeah,
two.
yeah.
No, everyone has a
Yes.
crowd of
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 actors that are always in the mix with you.
Yeah.
and
It's so strange.
I can never tell if it's sometimes it's a look thing, sometimes it's
It
an
must be a
acting
vibe
style
thing.
thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a vibe thing. Yeah,
Because it was
It's-
Virginia Williams, and she's tall and like looks nothing like me. I don't think, but I think
But you
we have
guys
a
are
vibe.
always mixed together.
Yeah,
That's
I had that
interesting.
too.
I did.
Did you ever introduce yourself to the people that were like the
Oh, I
girls
know-
that were always sitting in
totally.
the folding chair across from you? And,
I mean,
and
sometimes I do. And sometimes it felt like people don't want to
You're like-
talk to you, so you're like,
I always felt like in the audition rooms, like I always felt like that was like my high school. I was like, oh, like hey, like it was always fun to see some people, but then there were
Yeah.
some people
It sort of
again that
was in
were
a
a little
way.
bit less approachable. That you
Sure.
could tell like
Yeah.
they took themselves very serious, and
They're in their
I think you
zone.
always respected the space. So you're like, oh, they're very serious.
You learn after years of the audition circuit and doing this stuff, you learn that like because you typically will only see these people like in the waiting room,
Yeah,
and you guys
right.
are sitting there for 30 or 40 minutes together, but you're in your head and you're trying to have your stuff together for the room, and so it's not the friendliest environment. It's hard to be really like jovial and nice and
Yeah.
off the cuff when you like have 6 pages in your head you're trying to keep straight.
That's
So,
true.
but-
and you're
but
hoping,
I've-
and you're hoping that they like trip and fall on their face.
well, like
I was always
I've always-
excited.
on the bush here.
yeah, no, I've
think
always
I
tried
was
my
al-
best to be friendly
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
could be, but and have respect for that zone, you know. But I've always over time I've learned that like all these people are just like you know, like we're all
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
same. We're all in it, you know.
It's like
But
when
there
you go
were-
to a party though.
There were
and
people
you're-
who played the game though. There were some because I do remember there were some actresses where I was like, oh no, they're gonna mess with me because like you
They're
knew.
coming to get in your
Thing
head.
is,
But you
it's just like when you
But
go
you
to
knew
a
who
party
they
though,
were, though.
and you're
Yeah, I see. I know.
You don't
I
know how to
remember what
break-
you're saying. There was
Yeah.
always somebody who
Yeah.
would do her audition, and then she would hang out
Yes.
after, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
you
should I
have
curse on
somewhere
this
to
podcast?
be.
Get out of here! Like, you're done.
Yeah.
Stop talking to me. I
And
gotta
that kid
concentrate.
comes out of the room and they're like,
Oh,
nailed
and
it.
But,
Oh my gosh, gross.
I definitely remember when people were like came out and were like, oh,
I should have.
you can go home now, and I was like,
Ooh, that's
Rude.
aggressive.
That's
Someone
so
said that to
aggressive.
you?
oh yeah.
That's awesome.
aggressive.
Wow.
We're not
That's
gonna
aggressive.
I'm
mention
glad I wasn't in that category.
Aggressive.
Jeez.
You just start
I
crying.
would just,
There was
yeah,
this-
I mean, I was crying on the way home, anyways. But like,
I do think, like, unfortunately, I feel like the Zoom culture, pandemic, whatever it is, Zoom culture now within self-tape culture has changed everything. And I do really miss that some of
Yeah.
that camaraderie of when you would go in and like you would sit in a room and you would see a few people you knew and you would
yeah.
kind of vibe off people's energy a little bit.
I loved the room.
I also
That's-
just
Yeah.
loved being able to work with the casting director and have direction
The
and being able
best.
to make
Totally.
that change.
yeah,
Because this the Zoom culture, like I feel like it's also like it's the mirror culture. It's
Yeah.
where you've memorized it, you've looked in the mirror, you've done it a million times, and like it's like part of acting is how you react and how you can change and
Yeah.
transition.
And
And
adapt,
now
yeah.
with Zoom, like you're just getting this kind of
plus you can't
And- but-
can't work a Zoom room,
Manufactured.
honestly.
But
Yeah.
Agreed.
I've booked
Agreed.
things based on my flexibility.
exactly.
So sometimes you
Yes.
go in, you're like, and I'll tell them like, hey, I thought maybe I'd do it like this, and they're like, sure, let's see it, and then they're like, actually, we think this, and then I'll flip it and do something
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and that's what's impressive.
Exactly.
Right.
So that,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
can't get flexibility on a tape.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will be right back. We'll continue this in a minute.
So we are back with Christine, and we were talking about auditions and how much they suck, and they suck
I
more
think
now.
that's exactly what we're talking
Right?
about.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, the other thing is,
Some of
like,
you might like them.
I mean, I feel like having directed people too, I always want to get an idea of what you're like outside of what you can do, you know?
Yeah.
Because isn't that part of it too? You want to know, like, is this person open to being directed? Can they change? What is their personality like? Because sometimes I feel like actors actually that's the difference in the room, right? Everybody can nail the lines. Everybody's kind of doing it. Everybody sort of looks like a different version of themselves. But who is the person?
Right.
Who's
Yeah.
the person
You're
that's like bringing the funny and just like bringing up funny ideas, or maybe could improv or whatever it is. And I feel like that's the thing we're missing out on.
And when you're on a shoot, though, it is kind of like you're all off at camp together. And when the whole crew and cast is harmonious, that's the difference between a movie that's fun to work on and one that you hate every minute of.
That's true, yeah.
Well, and I think you also brought up a good point, because Christine has been doing a lot of directing.
Yeah.
And how has that experience, kind of the transition from, you know, being in front of the camera to being so much behind the camera? Because you've done a lot of directing.
Yeah. I started about, gosh, how old's my son now? I base everything on how old my kids are or what color hair I had at the time.
And how long it was.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, about 6 years now. You know, I wanted to get behind the camera for a really long time, but it just took a long time, because it like anything is very competitive and everybody wants to do it, and who's going to give you a shot when you're trying to tell them you can, and all of that. But what I felt like being on the other side of it, I think having been an actor, you know what it's like to be directed by somebody who has no idea how to connect the dots emotionally.
Yeah.
You know? And I wanted to be the kind of director that could help an actor do that. And whether it's comedy or drama, like I think we all know when you've connected with a director who really understands what the joke is, or can get you there without actually giving you the line reading, or isn't just saying, "Can you just be faster?"
Yeah.
You know?
There's like two kinds of directors. There's a kind of director that just tells you what to do.
Right.
And then there's the other kind of director that kind of tries to find the moment with you and like looks for it.
Yeah.
And so like I'm sure there are actors that prefer just the more straightforward approach, but I always liked the kind of like, that's why I enjoyed auditions, particularly at the higher levels when you're doing producer calls and tapes further down when they're working with you. Because that's the stuff that I always liked, you know?
Yeah, that's
It's
the
the
fun stuff.
journey.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and looking for something interesting to
Yeah.
do. And then when you find it, it feels good. And that's where you get the connection that you want to work with someone.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's like I feel like, you know, I mean, not to compare this to sports, but I feel like that's when you've won the game. Like those moments where, like,
Yeah.
you know, you get
find
that
the
high
nuance
when you're
and-
like,
Yep.
yes,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
found it, like that.
Yeah.
And it, I mean, that's what I missed, because I actually loved auditioning as well, because I loved that exploration of like in the room, and I loved changing it up. I loved surprising people like with a totally different take.
Yeah.
And I also loved being challenged and being like, no, we didn't like that at all, actually. We want you to switch it up. And that was the fun. And then once they loved that, you're like, yeah,
turn it around.
I won the game.
about shooting, but I did not have that feeling in auditions.
But I
had
think you were
panic
also
attacks
a
at
lot.
every audition.
You were also a lot younger, though.
Yeah.
Auditioning's a whole different
I
beast.
love
Yeah,
that part
totally.
about
Whole
working
different-
where you're
It
like,
really
this
is.
is the perfect brushstroke that like I just felt you needed
Yeah.
to be there.
And some people are really good
nuance.
auditioners.
Yeah.
But
I'm
have you ever like I know this probably is true, where there are people
like a
that are
job
really good
interview.
auditioners and they get the job, but then they get to set and they can't figure it out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a totally different thing.
See,
You know
like-
what it's like
Yeah.
to work on set. Like there are times when you'd be in the middle of a take and like you're flubbing a line, and a seasoned actor would be like, "I'm sorry, let me just go back." And then they would just start again.
Right.
They know how to put themselves back
Yeah.
in. And then they're the actors who are like, I don't know what
They
to
fall
do.
apart.
Yeah, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Right, because that's not part of the audition, you
Right.
know? And having all the hair and makeup and the lights and the people and the technical stuff, like, that
Yeah,
can
the
really
pressures are
throw you.
different.
And the
It's a
workload's
different thing.
more.
Correct.
Because like on audition, you're kind of like this very small little portion that
snippet,
you're
right.
practicing. And then
Yeah.
like when you're on set, like, you know, you could have a very big day with 8
Yeah.
pages, and you have
Right.
or you can get thrown, and you know the schedule can change, and you
Right.
have to be flexible. And
Sure.
I think like that was always like an adventure for like, but I feel like our set was also very like welcoming to like bring people on. So if people, like we had a lot of first time actors who had
Yeah.
never gotten something before. And then we had a lot of seasoned actors who came off of like amazing shows. So, but like I felt like we were always very supportive of whoever.
It's such a
came.
good
We had a lot of
feeling
old
though
school
to be
actors
there,
too
like
that came
helping
through.
someone
We
through
were a
it,
big mix.
and I like that's why I think I much prefer doing off camera work than anything else, because the best feeling is when you're there supporting somebody else and you feel like you've done something to help pull the best take out of them.
I do feel like I always my best work was always off camera.
Same.
So many actors, I think, feel that way.
Something about the lights on you kind of makes me feel like a deer in the headlights, like.
I do all my best work when I'm
the
like
dark.
reacting to somebody else off camera. Yeah.
But
Well, I think
we're all set kids though. We all grew up on sets,
Yeah.
and so like it's a different like there. I don't know. I feel like it kind of imbues that into you that like you grow up with in that camera environment and working together as a team. You know what I mean? It's because the auditions are very self-centered. It's about my performance and what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
When you're doing a scene, it's not about you necessarily. You have that coordination with everybody. And there's a big difference between putting a scene together or two for them in the room and putting a character together over the course of a film or a show and having some kind of consistency across hours, potentially of content.
Yeah.
So, I feel like our advantage was that's where we cut our teeth, was on the set,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you ever feel? I don't know how it worked with you guys because I only did the one pregnant episode. But did you ever get pages like on the day?
No.
No. Okay, so
Not-
things
Not-
wouldn't
no.
change, but sometimes
we would
like,
get rewrites
schedule.
would come
Okay.
in, but our rewrites were typically light.
Yeah.
Just like
They
little
lined
little
it,
adjustments
yeah.
and things, not
Okay.
big sweeping changes.
No, we weren't. That's the one advantage to like our show was like we were very like structured and everything was
Methodical,
everything
Yeah.
was very well planned out and we
Well-oiled
knew
machine.
we were a well-oiled machine. You know what I realized too is that we also I worked with Patrick Duffy when I was really young,
Right.
on the Children of the Bride movies.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was your dad on.
Did he play your dad?
He played my
grandpa. That's
and
weird.
I remember like telling him that at 90s Con, and I think he was insulted, and I didn't. I remember looking at you, and you're like, "Bev, just stop, just stop talking." And I was like, "No."
He looks really young though.
Because I also told him that he played my grandpa when I was like 10, and he was not happy about it. I'm pretty yeah,
He was
no,
just like,
he was my grandpa. He was just a hot grandpa. It was fine.
I mean, everyone's got to.
you were a pregnant teen.
Hello.
I mean, so it's fine.
They were all actors.
I mean,
just
yeah.
trying to be different.
We're just
people.
trying to work. Because you also went to 90s Con.
Yes.
How was that like kind of reconnecting with your cast? Because
Oh,
you're
my
kind of
gosh.
you're doing a similar podcast as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. So Stacey Keenan played my sister on the show. We have a podcast. It's called Keenan and Lakin Give You Deja Vu. Longest title ever. But yeah, it was really fun. She and I have been in touch over the years, and she is no longer in the business. She is was for many years a criminal prosecutor.
Well, that's a
for the
change of-
LADA's office.
Yes.
Yes. Complete change of
Yeah,
career.
that's like
Yeah.
that's a
Went to law
complete
school.
180.
Yep. So it's really interesting because she never watched the show. She's never seen Step by Step. So now here we are 30 years later, and she was like, you know what I think would be fun? I was like, what? She's like, well, I do a lot of like analysis, looking at blood spatter all day. You know what I think would be fun would be to watch the show again. And I was like, what?
I love the comparison.
Okay.
Again. Yeah.
Sure. Sounds like you need an outlet. So she's been watching the show for the very first time, and it's pretty funny to see somebody's reactions who's just experiencing themselves as a teenager on television.
Yeah.
It's like a real
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, it's been really fun to go through it with her, and like we
Oh, I
recap
bet.
the episodes and we talk about, and like she and I were close, but we had just enough of an age gap when we were working together that I was always kind of 3 years below. So when you're 13 and
Yeah.
someone's 17, like you're not going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Bev and I.
Right.
Yeah, because we're 4 years apart.
Yeah. So now I get to hear like all the real stories of what she was doing in the 90s when there was no social media or anything. And like,
It's just like what I'm hearing
yeah,
about from
it's fun. I mean, yeah. But we have a lot of shared experiences. And then I remember stuff she doesn't remember at all. Anyway. But yeah, so that's been really fun. And we've had some of our, we've reconnected with some of our cast that I hadn't seen in years either. Like Josh Byrne, I hadn't seen him in like maybe 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And Chris Castile, oh my gosh. Chris and I had Susie. We were in the same schoolroom. He played Mark on the show. And we were in the same schoolroom for like 5 years. You know, when you're in a schoolroom
So
with
excited
someone.
You spent, yeah.
Yeah. You really get very close to them in a very unique way.
Yeah.
So 90s Con was amazing. I mean, Chris was there. Stacy, myself, Angela, Brandon Call, which none of us had seen him in years. Patrick was there. So it was so fun. The whole thing was like beat all my expectations. I did not know it would be as fun as it was, honestly.
And on that note, we need to take a short little break, but it won't be long, so fear not, and stay with us.
I know for us too, 90s Con was like, it was kind of that family reunion that like really got that love like kind of flowing again. It's like, because I feel like so often like you have this connection that nobody will ever understand and nobody knows like what our shared experience is. Nobody ever can compare to. So once we were all together, I know like our family just got tighter, and that's obviously why, you know, we're here and why.
It was an amazing reunion. Like
Yeah.
our dinners, every night we ate together and we would go hang out in each other's room, and like it
Yeah.
was just like reconnecting with a real family.
It was.
Honestly.
It was so fun.
And then for you guys, because it's been even longer since all of
Yeah.
you guys were together. So, you know, I know you guys had like a special dinner too.
we did. So it was Patrick Duffy's birthday.
Right.
So we got a private room at a steakhouse across the street, and like they were like, when I asked for it, I was like, oh, you know, could we maybe, you know, plan for this? And they were so sweet. They're like, shall we get you a cake? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Can you do that? That'd be amazing. So yeah, and Jason Marsden was there as well. And we just had the loveliest dinner. I mean, Stacey and I, we always think that we can like keep up with Patrick, like in terms of like his, you know, he can just recount so many great stories. He's an amazing storyteller. He has a real love of fine wine. And we're always like, oh, sure, we'll have some wine. Oh, sure, we'll have some port. What am I doing drinking port? I have no business drinking port. And then we were like back in the hotel bar and like having more cocktails. We had to leave at like 5 a.m. Like it was a total mess. She and I were like a nightmare.
You guys also had like
hotel
a
bar
hell of
at
a
90s
time.
Con was
Wait.
packed.
I also remember you guys had, because I saw you in the lobby on your adventure
know
to
what
get
was
to
happening.
Connecticut. Because let's just recap for everyone.
Oh,
90s
gosh.
Con is in Hartford, Connecticut. And Christine and Stacy showed up. Didn't you guys lost luggage? You
Yep.
guys like missed planes. I mean, David and I had an adventure on our own. But I feel like your adventure was worse.
We had to stay the night
Yeah.
in Dallas.
Oh, yes. And we were in, I don't remember.
DC?
We were in DC.
Oh.
Should have
Okay.
taken the train,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
We stayed the night in Dallas. We got a hotel. I think we slept for 4 hours. Stacey and I had a little
that's
slumber
the
party.
worst.
Yeah. And then we had to like get rebooked back on the flight. They lost her luggage. It was, you know,
It was,
it was a real thing.
but what I loved is I saw you with a big smile on your face and you're like, we're doing it.
we're here.
We're
We made
doing
it
it.
happen.
We're doing it.
Yeah. That's why I always pack carry-on. I don't trust anyone with my luggage.
I don't like it.
That's how I roll.
yeah.
You roll in a duffel bag.
I
You don't
just have a
actually
duffel
roll.
bag.
It's not. It doesn't roll. It's a duffel bag.
No, I got
It's
my duffel bag
literally
with
a-
me today. That's it. I
I
roll the
know.
duffel bag and I'm good for days.
Well, when you're
And-
as gorgeous as you are naturally, you don't need any.
Well, and then
else.
if you know that I'm going to be anywhere near you, you know that I perpetually overpack. So anything you
Yes.
need, I will have.
That's true.
Including nut buckets.
That's right. Tiny little bags of nuts.
Yes, because
Whatever
you know
whatever
you need if you need a snack,
case you're
I will
famished.
have
She
them.
will have them.
Yes, because on Hollywood Darlings, I definitely was the snack keeper.
You had the snacks. If you needed Advil,
Yep.
if you needed, I don't know, a contact solution, like you go to Bev.
It's almost like I had like I feel
She's a
yeah,
pharmacy.
I had like a Mrs. Doubtfire bag, like whatever you need. We did do that episode where I brought my Vitamix too.
And if I, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, to the Westlake Village Inn. Yeah, that was so much fun. It was on good old pop.
What did you make
Yeah.
in the Vitamix?
I don't.
Was it
I think what was that
smoothies or-
episode?
I don't remember what you were making smoothies.
Well, that's also because
like
that was
soups
because I had snacked on your pot brownies in that
Right.
episode. Yeah,
Right. Yes,
yeah, that was
Bev
wow,
had pot
Jared.
brownies?
There in
Storyline.
It's storyline. Yes, in storyline because the whole joke was that it's actually not really a joke. It's probably real. I'm
the
so
joke.
square that I don't do anything like fun.
And we needed her to relax.
Yeah,
and
you
she
needed-
didn't realize that they were pot brownies, but then she really just.
And then I ate them all.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
also, I mean, the reality is if I saw brownies, I would probably eat them all
You
too.
need
because
two
I do.
batches. You need special brownies and regular brownies because after the special brownies kick in, you just want more brownies. And that's
But you
where
should
could
not
go
be
wrong.
eating
You need-
special.
Yeah, you need
Are
the
you
auxiliary
speaking
brownies.
from experience?
go.
Absolutely. Yes. So 2 batches.
Right. Well, in our special episode of
Don't
Hollywood
mix 'em
Darlings,
up.
we only had one.
That's true. Did you guys ever do like some very special episodes of Seventh Heaven that were
With-
like drug related, or did you ever have that like
We did.
dare episode?
We just.
I mean, it was like
We did.
that
It
was
was
like our
off-
whole thing
Yeah.
the whole time.
We
Yeah.
did. Well, what the episodes we
Oh, I smoked weed.
We've
Remember
all-
that one?
oh, yeah,
with
we've-
Annie.
we have a shirt that says that.
Yeah,
Um,
that was about as dark as we got down
Yeah.
the drug zone. Was
I mean,
you
as
know,
far
like-
as we remember.
Well, yeah, because
I
right
smoked,
we're
now
not
but I
that
didn't
far into
inhale,
the
kinda.
rewatch yet.
we've only got we're only in
Pregnancies
season
and gang
we're only in
violence.
We're only in
season
season one somewhere.
Right.
and we have 11 seasons total.
Did you guys? Did you have drug
Oh.
stuff and?
There were some very special episodes that I didn't even remember. We had an abstinence episode.
Ooh,
Really?
Uh-huh.
Was it
Um,
pro abstinence?
Pro
or,
abstinence.
okay.
Yeah, where Cody is like a very pivotal character who came on in the middle of season 1 and was a major breakout character. So he was sort of like the Fonzie.
Mhm.
So he was this like lived in his van, but he like
That's
talked like a
Sasha,
surfer.
right?
Sasha
Yeah,
Mitchell
yeah.
played Cody. And there was a whole episode where he and JT meet these girls, and the girls like are known for being like party girls. And they're like, "Oh, come back to our house. Like, let's have a, you know."
They wanted to
So-
have a me trip.
Yeah.
Me trip. That's-
Yeah.
They wanted to basically go and, you know,
Yeah.
Terrible
make out.
reference.
And JT thinks it's going to be his moment. He's going to be able to like lose his virginity and like with these hot girls and like, come on, Cody, let's do this. And Cody's very much the older, you know, wise sage who's like, no, man, like I'm leaving. I want myself to be, I want to be pure, man. And he has this whole thing which was, and as you're watching it now, you know, Stacey and I both were like, we got what it was saying, and he actually, and this is the 90s, right?
Right.
So there was talk of HIV
Yep.
in the episode because that was a big topic
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Yep,
conversation, and
absolutely.
not even having safe sex, but having no sex. But his reasoning for it was like very sort of strange and puritanical. It wasn't just like this is what I've just decided for me. It was this sort of like idea that if you have sex, then you're no longer pure or chaste or something. It was this really interesting. We were both like, huh,
Yeah.
okay.
Isn't it interesting when you go back and revisit these episodes? Sometimes you're like, from this adult lens that we're now watching it from,
Yeah.
you're like, okay,
Yeah.
interesting choice there.
Yeah.
Because there's some episodes where we're like, wow, we nailed it, we did great, and then there's others where we're like,
Dated.
Dated. Yeah.
we're like, okay, this
Yeah.
one's not going to hold up as well.
Yeah.
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 in
Not
today's-
everything ages.
Not everything
The
ages,
same.
but there
No.
are some episodes where, as we revisit, that it has been really interesting. We're really proud of, like, you know,
Yeah. We got, I
the
mean,
color of God. I'm holding on to that one. That one was like
you
one of
know,
our best
200
episodes. So far.
episodes, you're going to hit the bullseye
Of course.
a few times. You know,
Right.
like we had a lot of shots
And we're
to
gonna
get
have
it
a
right.
lot of misses.
Yeah.
And there's going to be tons of darts on the wall.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
just how that goes.
yeah, like
So-
Lucy's cheerleading episode. It was not one of my finest moments.
I still think
I think it
your
was
your
great.
cartwheel fall stunt gag was
You know what?
hilarious.
I will have to say, my physical comedy, that is one thing I do have. I might not be funny, but I can make fun of myself and I can
was
throw my
laughing.
body around. that is
skill.
a skill.
The skill.
It's a skill. I didn't get to do that much on Hollywood Darlings, though.
No, not a ton.
No.
But I mean, you were always.
I was just trying to keep up with you guys, man. Like, you guys were so, like,
No, but
funny.
I mean, but I think we all played into like various aspects of our personalities,
Yeah.
right? And there's something that just comes with such ease when you can just make fun of yourself and whatever
Absolutely.
those moments are. Like making fun of yourself for being kind of like, I'll be the square one.
Yeah.
I was the
Absolutely.
hippy dippy one.
And then Jodie Sweetin
Jody's
was
just
Jodie.
Jody.
Which,
Yeah.
that's all.
Sardonic
That's all you need to
and-
be.
yeah,
is
totally.
just Jodie.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
So we're back, and Christine was just telling us that you have some that you're doing some audio narration for some books. Tell me
Yes,
about it.
I have a secret life. My secret life for the last 10 years is that I do a lot of voiceover. And it's something I fell into and I really love doing. But in the last 10 years, I've probably voiced almost 200 audio
Wow.
narrations.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I basically get to read for a living sometimes, which I love because I love to read. But the other fun thing about it for me as an actor is that you really get to not only set up the tone of the story, but then you get to do all these other parts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like doing kind of like your own play. And you sit in a dark little room and no one bothers you and it's just you and your voice. But I do get sick of my own voice. Anyway,
I feel vindicated now because I said this morning that you should do ASMR content
Yeah.
because you have that
And if you
great
want me to.
great audio
yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, so I do a lot of, if you're into crime, I do a lot of the Michael Connelly, Bosch and Ballard series. I play the female detective Ballard. And then I have the next installment of Abby Jimenez's book. She had a very big book that was out last year called Just for Summer, and she has a new one coming out, and I think in the next few weeks. So
Amazing.
That's
yeah.
Can
So
you
do
tell
you
me a little
also-
bit about the process?
do you
for
get
that?
it-
So
Do you get a sneak peek of the book? Like, so obviously
yeah.
before everybody else, so you get to read it first.
Oftentimes I do.
That's
and
pretty cool.
It's the not recordable copy, but they'll send it ahead of the release. So then I get the first sneak peek of
how
the
much of a book do you
Pretty
do
cool.
in any single session? Like a chapter at a time, a few chapters at a time?
Because I've been doing it so long, it depends on the type and it depends on the spacing and all that. I can read about 100 pages a day. It's generally what I do. Some books are really dense and very like I just read
Wordy.
one that was nonfiction, and so it had a lot of dates and times and places,
Yeah,
and it was
that's
about a murder,
probably-
and so it was really dense with facts and figures and all of that.
Yeah,
so
so
that
that
one,
makes it
that
more
one took me,
difficult.
Right.
a lot of it took place in Louisiana, so a lot of very specific words and names that look like one thing but actually are pronounced
Yeah,
differently. 'cause they're
regional
French.
Absolutely.
stuff and
Yeah.
that's interesting.
But anyway, yeah. So that's my secret life.
That's
You can
cool.
find me on Audible.
That's so cool,
awesome.
though.
No, it's fun. It's fun.
I mean, I knew you did a few of them, but I didn't realize 200 books is
Yeah.
a lot.
It's a lot of reading.
Yeah, it is a lot.
I just had one out called The Favorites, which is a really fun book. If you like, it's kind of like a Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya
I've heard
Harding
of that
story.
book actually.
It's myself and a bunch of other Johnny Weir's in it. A bunch of other people also read parts in it. But that's a pretty fun one. Yeah.
Well,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, you are busy. You've got your podcast. You got.
Yeah.
Are you still doing your other podcast as well?
No, just the one.
Just the one, okay.
I got it. I
Yeah.
had to
Well,
streamline.
'cause
you
you
can't
also
have
have
too many podcasts.
You also have
Let's be
two
real.
children as well.
also
so
have two children
and
who have
you're-
very full lives.
you're doing the mom. Yeah, I mean, their lives.
How old are your children?
They're 6 and 8.
Oh, boy.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you're busy.
Very busy. All the sports. My daughter's getting braces today. It's
She
a whole thing.
is?
Yes,
Hmm.
I
Busy
know.
day.
So it's fun though. As you know,
Invisalign or like standard
no,
metal
braces.
braces?
like old school braces.
No real braces.
Well, wait,
She's
those are
excited.
braces.
She's been picking out the colors of the rubber bands.
Yes.
Back in my day,
Don't go
there were
clear
no
braces.
no.
They're yellow.
I know there were
That
no
long.
colored rubber bands. This is like a whole new world that's opened up.
That's
so
right.
you know,
My kid's gonna
pretty
need
exciting.
braces too.
it's
my
really
kids already had theirs off. So
yeah.
well, the first round.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
My kid just lost her first tooth recently.
Oh my god!
I know, isn't it crazy that we all have kids? It's just such a bizarre.
Stages, I love it.
Like how we all met when we were teenagers, and look at us now.
I know.
Look at
wild.
us.
In all our glory.
Procreated too.
Yeah. Well, you are the best, and I love you so
I love
much,
you
and I
too.
appreciate you for joining us and taking the long haul and the insane drive to get here to join us on this lovely.
How was that
couch.
for you?
It wasn't. I don't think it was as bad as it was for both of you. It was definitely heavier than I thought it was going to be. But I just kind of stayed the course and listened to a podcast.
Ooh.
I'm sorry for
What
being
were you
so
listening
grumpy
to?
when I first got here.
What podcast were you listening to?
Sadly, I was listening to my own because I had to make
That's
notes.
good.
As it goes, right?
Christine,
As it
always
goes.
working,
Sorry,
always
sorry.
working. So
Always-
we will. Oh wait, actually, there's a question. I think
Oh,
before we
question
before
from the
we
audience?
before we
Amazing.
exit.
So you're a director now, but as an actress, I've seen you've worked with some pretty big name directors in the past, more than once. So they brought you back. So you obviously left an impression with Gary Marshall and Andy Fickman.
Yeah.
What did you learn from directing by working with those two big names, not just once, but repeatedly, seeing how their style changed? And how did you incorporate that?
That's a
Good
great
question, Jared.
Yeah. Well, so Gary, man, I knew Gary for maybe a decade. I started working at his theater, which at the time was the Falcon. Now it's the Gary Marshall Theater.
Up in North Hollywood?
Yeah, in Toluca Lake. So I'd always had theater roots, and after the show ended, and I was doing little bit parts on series and auditioning as you do. I decided to go back and do some theater, and so I had auditioned for a play there, and they had cast me, and he would just come in and out even if he wasn't directing. He was always looking for people. That was just part of Gary's thing. He liked young actors, but he also liked like normal people too. So he would pull people in all the time and he loved to reuse people over and over again. And especially the kids, I say all of us young people who did like a lot of stuff at the theater, in different various theater companies, he was always sourcing us to play some of these parts in his films. And his films are iconic, and those sets were iconic. And the way he worked, he was constantly making it as if it was just like one big party. Like he was more interested sometimes, I felt like, in the after affairs. Like, we're doing a parade on Friday and you gotta come with a funny hat. And I'm like, huh? Wait, what? And he's like, what? Who's doing the parade? And they're like calling action. And he's like, okay. Like he was just always about the fun. And like he was really good to the people that worked for him over and over again. So I guess the things like learning from him, watching him even. Sometimes I worked on a few films, and sometimes you have an actor, an actress is a bit difficult. And to watch him, like nothing rattled him ever. And he would show up on set in a big sombrero, and this actress is 12 hours late and they're losing the light. And here he is in a sombrero because he's just gonna make it fun because he's got to get the shot. So it's never about like his ego about being pissed off, which by the way, he totally could have been. So there was a lot of that. I mean, he always said like life is more important than show business. And I guess that's easy to say when you're very, very, successful. But that was his MO all the time.
I think, but that simple message is actually like a good reminder to us all.
Yeah.
Of,
you have to have a real life.
Yeah.
And it has to mean something if you're going to do anything, I think, with your art that is going to connect with people. And I mean, and Andy, I worked with him so many times, and I mean, he's brilliantly funny. He's just got such a creative, hilarious mind, and I mean, he's a genius. He's like a steel trap. He remembers everyone and everything, and like can reference 100 movies. So he's just like a savant in that manner. So. Yeah.
What I would do to have a good memory.
I know. God. Why did I have kids? I can't remember anything.
I'm going to blame it on them too, because I'm like, I think my kids just like took my memory.
Yeah. I know.
Like, if only I could remember all of those
I only have
things.
2, and I'm already messing up their names. And
I keep calling them by the dog's name.
well,
So that's a
Well,
problem.
the second one's still so new, so I mean,
Yeah.
you've got some time. He's saying
Yeah.
he just had a baby in December.
Oh,
so
maybe they do take
God
your memory
bless.
because
I think they take a lot of
my
things.
kid will remember something that like she heard one time months ago, and she's 2.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they're like elephants, and they
Yeah, and
especially
you're like,
remember if you
"What?"
told them that they're going to get a treat or go
Oh,
to
Like I
For
mumbled
sure.
that to myself while you were sleeping. How do you know this?
And they'll remember things like weeks later.
Yeah.
Do
Oh,
you remember when we went and we did
forever
that thing
later.
and you said that thing? And I'm like,
Mhm.
huh?
don't hold me accountable.
Don't hold me
Yeah.
accountable to that
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
date I told you we might have one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome, and I'm so I love hearing all the stories about Gary and Andy because those are some of the
Yeah.
stories that I was didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, Gary was such a
I mean,
incredible
and you
person.
still continue to work at the Gary Marshall Theater and do
Oh my
a
gosh, I'm
ton
there
of
all the time.
because you choreograph too because that's also a little known fact. She does
Wait,
choreography.
that's my other secret life.
Your
Yeah.
other,
She has a
other,
lot. You have a
other-
lot of secrets, Christine. You have a lot
They're
of
all
secret
out
life.
there. It's not that.
You gotta
No.
teach me about this side hustle game you
Yeah.
got.
I know.
She was doing. You do choreography as well.
I'm teaching a dance class tonight if you want to come.
You've seen my dance skills. I don't know that
I'm not
they're.
saying you have to be good.
That's
Well, I
why
mean,
it's a
that's-
class.
That's what's class.
Bev,
No, we're doing
can
actually.
we go to the
She-
dance class, Bev?
Yeah. I think
We're doing
With
a
the
benefit
cameras?
class.
I'll stay in the back.
Yeah.
In the
It's for
back.
a good cause. It's a benefit.
Yeah. We're doing benefit for Marquez and
benefiting?
Pally High or Pally Charter.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
At the Gary Marshall. I love working there. Like I feel like that place and the people around there. I think we've all. I don't know. I'll be presumptuous. Maybe we've all had a moment in our lives where you wonder. You've had this amazing thing that you've been doing for a really long time, and this amazing community. You know, being on a show, and then you kind of that ends, and then I found myself being like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I
Yes.
do? Is this now my new life? I just go from like job to job to job. Yeah, that's what you do as an actor. But when you've had this other thing as such a big part of your life, I felt unmoored and I felt like I really needed to find my people. And that's why I went back to theater. And that theater in specifically and the people that I found there and like the community I found there, I think that was really what I say it all the time. I think it's what saved my life. I mean, I think it's what gave me purpose and it gave me grounding and it gave me a chance to just be myself without this like other tape in my head being like, you're supposed to, you should be, why aren't you? I could just be me and I could just be a part of these shows and no one was, I don't know. I felt like it was a different level of being an artist that didn't come with the weight of everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what
awesome.
you mean.
I'm still looking for my place, but it
Yeah.
sounds lovely.
Yeah.
That's why I love
place.
to. That's why I love to join you whenever, like
Yeah.
you and because I've gotten to see a few shows at the Gary Marshall Theater because you were so kind to invite me, and so it's been. But that's so awesome. I think because there is a lot once you come off of a show, you're kind of like,
What now?
What now?
Yep.
Yeah. And who am I? And
Yeah.
who am
Right.
I as an actor? And do I even like doing this? I think I do. You
Or
know,
do I just
Yeah.
think I should like doing it? Because
Now that
other
it's a
people wanna be
completely
doing it?
different job, do I still like it?
Right.
And is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
and
And
then
also-
you become an adult too.
Yeah.
And you have
It's
to
your
know
comfort
who you are
zone.
as an adult
Yeah.
versus who you were maybe when you started, which was a child. You know, it's like you're
It's
two
a very
different
bewildering
people.
transition.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, luckily, I think
Well
we've
said.
all survived and come out on top so far.
I
We've
mean,
come
speak
out.
for yourself.
I mean, I was trying to.
No, I agree. I agree.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to go get some braces for Georgia, and
mean,
we
it's an
cannot.
exciting
So what
take.
color?
We can't
What
keep you.
We're going teal.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good place to
I
start.
thought I was
Yeah.
a little nervous she was going to be like, I want red. And I was going to be like, oh God, girl.
No, I think teal's a good
I think
choice.
teal's a real
Yeah.
good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, give my love to the family, to
I will.
Brandon and
Of
Baylor.
course.
and
I will.
Thanks for
Georgia.
joining us.
Thanks for having me, you guys. It's really fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it, everybody. We're done. But before you go, please do all the things, hit all the buttons, like and subscribe. Join us later. We'll be back, and we hope you stay with us. See you next time. Hey guys, check us out on Patreon for early access to catching up with the Camdens episodes, exclusive group and individual content, access to all three of us via chat, and more.